One full week of playing RuneScape for 17 hours a day has finally led to this. It is time for the day of the finale, and naturally, I'm feeling quite nervous. Not much of a PvPer, but, we did some practice sessions, and at this point, all of us had a blast playing this tournament throughout the week. So you know what? We came into this, finale with the attitude of, hey, nobody expects us to win. Let's just go out there and have fun like we've had fun all week. Now here's a look at our gear. They made this cool graphic for us, so you can see all of our setups left to right. As far as spec weapons goes, Curtis is using the Abyssal Dagger, Perp has a pair of D Claws, Alfie has the Corrupted Voidwaker, thank you Jay, I've got the Corrupted Armadil Godsword, and Torvesta has got a pair of claws. Now, we're all using Bofas, except for Torvesta. He is going to be using Morrigan's throwing axes and barraging a lot, because he doesn't actually have a melee weapon other than claws. So he's going to be range and mage only for the most part. Now, some of our gear is a little like Perp has a Toxic Staff of the Dead and Ancestral Top, but Mystic Bottoms. I've also got Mystic Bottoms, unfortunately. But, Alfie's setup is pretty stacked, Curtis's setup is pretty stacked, and Torvesta's is very strong because he has Rigor. Unfortunately, we only ended up getting 5 Prayer Scrolls, which was just really unlucky. Like, it is what it is, bro. Like, we got so many Denny Bees and shit that should have been a Prayer Scroll, drop rate-wise, but what can you do? So, I don't remember exactly who all got the prayers and who didn't, but all I know is I'm going to be rocking Eagle Eye and Mystic Might today, unfortunately. So, the style of the fight is, well, I would say best described as a Pokemon battle. There's 5 of us, and so it's effectively 5 separate 1v1s. When one person dies, the next person moves up, and so on and so forth. So, yep, like, I would say think of it like a Pokemon battle, except you can't swap out until the quote-unquote Pokemon has died, if that makes sense. So the first fight, actually the first matchup of the entire tournament was us versus the Oda Block Warriors. Now we sent out Curtis, aka MMORPG first, and I do not envy him at all because he had to fight Guns Chili, who is not, known for being a PKer per se. However, he is in a range tank setup, and fighting range tanks is absolutely miserable. There's a reason why you were only allowed 1 range tank per team, because they're just so broken. Like, crossbows just constantly hit through prayer. And as you can see, Guns Chili's has got the full Verax, which, again, hits through prey melee, ignores it entirely. So, yeah, Curtis had a really, really tough setup where I feel like if you guys have played LMS before, you'd probably know fighting a range tank is just tough. Like, you can do better and just do less damage just because RNG. It is what it is. So Curtis ends up falling to Guns Chili, but not after taking away all of his food first. So honestly, a valiant effort. I would say he did his job. Because at the end of the day, the biggest objective of these fights is just don't get KO'd. Survive as long as you can, use up as much of your opponent's food as you can, even if you do lose. So with Curtis dead, Perp is up next, and he sends a Dragon Claw spec, just trying to make quick, out of his death as fast as possible, because you really don't want to let Guns Chili stay alive and drain even more of his food, because obviously he's got to fight whoever is up next. Now, Perp is a very good PKer. He does have a bit of a disadvantage with Australian ping, but he takes out Guns Chili there after only using 1 piece of food. And next up for Oda Block's Warriors is Reese, who is obviously a very good PKer, so that is a tough fight for Perp. Gets a big D-Claw right off the bat, though. Beautifully done. And Reese takes out Perp, and Reese has still got like 5 anglerfish left. So up next is Alfie, who definitely is going to have his work cut out for him. And after a very long fight, with one food left, Alfie does manage to take out Reese. So props to Reese there. He took out Perp and almost all of Alfie. So definitely was a tough opponent. Up next for Odablock's Warriors is V the Victim, who you may have recently saw eliminated me from the Gillinor games. Unlucky. And with a big D-claw, V the Victim takes out Alfie, and Victim's got about 4 food left. And that means that I'm up. Let's try to get my revenge. Alright, I would say that was revenge had. I was pretty happy about that, if I do say so myself. Next up for Odablock's Warriors is a cold one. I just want to say that AGS could have been really good right there. That was off prey, only hit a 1. To be fair, the corrupted AGS is not great. I believe the corrupted weaponry has like 20% worse stats or something, so max hit with it is probably in the 50s in my gear. At any rate, a cold one's got a pretty gnarly setup. He's got dragon claws, an infernal cape, a Statius warhammer, so definitely a pretty fearsome setup, I'd say. All in all, I do end up dying to a cold one, but I drained him all the way down to 1 food and 1 dose of brew. So I took out Victim and took out almost all of Cold One's food. So I reckon I did my job. Now, our team captain is up. Torvesta needs to finish off a Cold One and then take on Odablock. Oof. Now, I wouldn't say Oda has a crazy setup by any means. I would say Torvesta's gear is pretty much just as good, except for the Vesta's Longsword. The Vesta's Longsword, which Oda has, is just so stupidly good. I mean, it's basically like an Armadillo God Sword you get to spec with 4 times instead of 2. I mean, it's just... And because it's a tick faster than a God Sword is, so it's good as a whack weapon. I mean, it's just nasty. So there's the 21 off prey, so that's a little bit lucky. And then the 51 off prey is, that's tough. All in all, Torvesta put up a fantastic fight. He got Oda all the way down to 1 food and 2 doses of brew. But ultimately, Odablock prevailed, and so that is a loss for us and a win for the Odablock Warriors. And now we are on to match number 2. We are taking on Foes K Konas. Now, this is an interesting matchup because Foes K Konas were the other team that also had Bofas. In fact, all 5 of them had Bofas. In addition to that, they did TOA, so they also had Fangs. So pretty much every person on the team has a Bofa and a Fang, so definitely going to be a tough matchup. Up first, we have Skidler versus Curtis. Curtis, the Mad Lad, played it fantastically and ends up getting the win. Honestly, Curtis is a great PKer. I just think his matchup against Guns Chili is just so tough because range tanks are just, I don't know, they're so hard to fight in my opinion. So Curtis clutches up, gets the, I don't know what perp type over there. Curtis gets the win against Skidler. Next up from Foes K Konas is Ditter Bitter. Obviously a great PKer. Dead man veteran, so he's going to be a tough fight. The fight absolutely comes down to the wire. Both of them have no food left. Ditter does end up getting the kill, but with only 22 HP left, you can pretty much call it a tie, just about, because Alfie immediately kills him with 1 shot of the bow. Next up is Mazhar, another Dead Man mode veteran. Alfie does a fantastic job and ends up killing Mazhar with that Void Waker KO. So we've got a bit of a man lead at the moment. Up next, following Mazhar, is Roidy. Roidy makes quick work of Alfie. Honestly, their setup, I think, is really strong because the Bofa is super accurate and the Fang, as you know, is super accurate. So just very, very consistent DPS out of their setup. I was much more nervous for this fight than I was the previous ones. I think the mentality of like the farmer versus farmer thing kind of fucked with me, if I'm going to be honest with you. It got in my head a little bit. Unlucky 0 on the robes on prey range right there. Unfortunate, but yeah, I did bad. I did really bad. I only took 4 food off of Roidy, so yeah, I definitely set Torvesta up for failure on that one. My bad. Who am I kidding? Torvesta's a beast. He finishes up Roidy only using 3 pieces of food. So that's not that much food to go be down. Because last up is Foe. Now, Foe is, as good of a PKer as I am, but Torvesta is much better than the both of us. So, honestly, going into this, I was like, oh, he could do this. He could get the 2 for 1. Torvesta's magic setup, honestly, was really, really, really good. We did some calculations and stuff, and when he wore the carols and the buckler and stuff, his magic defense was ridiculous. So the odds that people were going to splash on him were very high, coupled with, the fact that the throwing axes with rigor, if you can get those off prey, I mean, you can just chip 30, 30, 30 repeatedly. So honestly, Alex's setup was a little bit unconventional because no, normal melee weapon, but honestly, he used it very well. It comes down to the wire. Both of them have no food remaining. The Blood Barrage just doesn't kill Foe, and he finishes him off with a throwing axe. So there you go. Torvesta does it. He keeps us alive. He keeps us going. We move on to the next match. Now, the way the bracket shook up was a little bit crazy because we actually were the very next fight. We literally did round 2 and round 3 back-to-back in the tournament. So that means we are once again fighting Oda Block's Warriors, as you can see. So again, I do not envy Curtis. He's once again got to fight Guns Chili, the range tank. Curtis ends up dying, and Guns Chili has about 5 pieces of food left. So definitely not an ideal start, but let's see if Perp can clean things up quickly. That he can. He only ended up using 1 piece of food, so very clean from Perp there. And that means we've got a rematch of Perp versus Reese. Perp had a much better fight against Reese this time, got him all the way down to being completely out of food, which again, he finished off the 1 kill, and then he gets his other opponent pretty much out. I'd say that's a win. Reese does get the KO there, so that means Alfie is in to try to finish him off. With Reese dead in 3 hits from Alfie, Alfie did not use any food whatsoever, so we're literally back to even once again. So we've now got Alfie versus V the Victim, round 2. Alfie did a good job, got V the Victim all the way down to 1 food remaining, but does end up dying to a claw scratch. So I come in here with, V the Victim only has 1 piece of food left. My mentality was like, just do this quickly, please. And I tried the God Sword tech again. Unfortunately, it hit a 0. How sick would have that been if that God Sword, oh, that would have been poetic if I got 2 KOs in a row on Victim, but it wasn't meant to be. Pretty good hit RNG from my part. We end up killing V the Victim. I don't think I used any food. Maybe I used 1. I'm not sure, but got some nice hits there. So we clean up V the Victim, and again, I haven't really used much food, so our fights are back to even. We do land a 35 AGS there, so at least it actually did some damage that time. Oh my, I got off to a pretty hot start right there. Got cold on the ropes pretty quickly, but now we gotta settle in because we got a long fight ahead. Honestly, I think I really enjoyed PKing with the Bofa setup, something that my teammates were trying to teach me in the week leading up to this event. They were trying to teach me the importance of always defaulting to your staff when PKing like this. Not only does the staff give mage defense, but also it allows you to more quickly swap to your mage gear and barrage. And also, it keeps your opponent on their toes, you know? Because if you have the staff on at all times, and you're quick enough about it, you can really easily one-tick a barrage from that. By the way, another good AGS off prayer. Hit a 0. Unlucky. If you have the staff on at all times, you could one-tick a barrage, or you could one-tick swap to the bow. So, I thought using the Bofa really helped me with that, because, you know, when you're using a crossbow, your shield stays on, right? But when you put the Bofa on, your staff and your shield come off. So for me, it was easier to notice, like, okay, hey, both of these things are off. I need to re-equip both of them, you know? Really proud of myself, honestly. I end up taking out a cold one as well, albeit with literally no food left. So I finished off Be the Victim and took out a cold one, so I was pretty happy with my performance. Odablock then quickly comes in and cleans me up. But I will say I was pretty happy about the fact he killed me with 2 VLS specs, which I thought was a bit of a questionable... I mean, I suck at PKing, who am I to say anything? But, you know, using 2 of his special attacks up so that Torvesta has 2 less specs to eat, I thought, hey, I was like, okay, that's kind of a good start for Alex, to be honest. Now, a reminder, this is a double elimination tournament. Once you lose 2 times, you are out. We lost fight number 1 against Odablock Warriors. So this is it. This is for all the marbles. It's leader versus leader. Torvesta versus Odablock. If we lose, we're out. The 61 Vesta longsword spec there. Absolutely brutal. Again, it's one of those things where I wish we would have got a VLS during the week, man. And then a 43 bolt from Oda there. Just, the hits are popping off. 32 bolt. Alex is in a bit of a bad way. And there it is, the VLS KO takes out Torvesta, and that is it. Honestly, Alex did a great job. He put up a fantastic fight. But as Oda would say, you did well, but I did better. And so that was it. That was the end of the tournament for Torvesta's Devils. But man, we had so much fun throughout the week. The vibes were incredible. I mean, just editing these videos back, re-listening to some conversations, we really had a ball, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching them. If you're curious, this is the last match of the tournament. The Odablock Warriors did end up going all the way to the championship match, but ultimately, they did end up losing to Dino's Nuggets, which, to be honest, I think going into the tournament, Dino's Nuggets were definitely the favorite to win the whole thing anyway. You know, Dino is a very good PKer. West Ham definitely is the best, you know, NH Tribrid PKer that was in this tournament. So, yeah, watching the tournament back, I mean, it was wild. West Ham was just mopping people up, bro. It was brutal. So the Dino Nuggets do end up going on to win. Yeah, it was a really fun tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed. I pray they do this again in the future. It was so fun to participate in, and hopefully you enjoyed watching it as well.